What's good, everybody? What's happening? I appreciate you guys coming in. Appreciate everybody checking in. Obviously, I got my guys here, and I cannot wait to get into this one. In true Raider fashion, and it's only been one game, and the drama has already started. So we're either going to add to the drama and piss off a lot of people, or we're going to calm some nerves. Okay, severe, calm some nerves. Okay, but it's either going to be one or the other. You know what I'm saying? And so, this is my first live since the game. Um, Chris, I know you just said this is kind of your first live, so you're ready to talk about it, and I'm excited. I'm excited to just kind of hash this whole thing out. So, but I know both you guys are at the game, so let me know. Let me know, how was the game? Just how was the crowd? How was just the fan base? Both you guys were there. So, Severe, I'll throw it to you first. How was the crowd? How was just the vibe there?
The crowd was good, man. The atmosphere was great. I mean, the fans were there. The tailgating was good, man. If you walk through the parking lot, we dominated the tailgating areas. Even in the stadium, it was like 60-40, possibly 70-30. I heard some people say
Easy.
that.
Yeah.
But we outnumbered them, right? It was basically like a home game for us. So it was a good atmosphere, man, until until the game started.
Until some fourth downs, right? And we'll get into that.
Man.
So, Chris, what's good? What's good, man? How you doing? And just how was the vibe there for you? And how was that crowd?
No, man, I had a good time, man. LA treated me kindly, man. The tailgate was fun. It was a lot of Raider fans. It really felt like a home game. I mean, people were just in good spirits, I mean, people were happy, people were excited. I mean, it was just a good atmosphere altogether. Got to meet Severe for the first time, man. Got to meet a lot of other Raider fans, man, that are a fan of all of our shows. So that was definitely fun. Had a lot of fun laughs and a lot of it was just an overall good time. It was just a good vibe. You just going into the game, I felt great, man. I
Yeah.
felt great. So I was really looking forward to getting the game going, and we kind of all know what happened, but as far as the atmospheres go, it was great.
We're gonna get into it, and I know that it was hot as hell. I've heard some people. Severe and I were talking just shortly before we all got on. There were some super fans there, like Power Raider. He's out here in the Vegas area, and they just skipped the tailgating. They said we're not going out there. We're going straight to the stadium. And so I heard it was hot as hell. But I'm glad LA treated you right. But we're going to get into it. We'll talk about some of the free agents that we just picked up, signed to the practice squad. I think one of them possibly just got elevated, or brought to the 53. But we'll definitely talk about that. But let's get to the chat. Appreciate everybody coming on through. All eyes on G. I appreciate you rolling through. Terry Ogden, what's going on? Leo, what's good, man? Appreciate you rolling through it as well. Raider Mike Sack down. Appreciate you pulling up. SoCal Sal, you always pull up, man. I appreciate you rolling through. Anthony Estrada, what's good, man? And Jack Kenna, you coming in? You coming in hot right now? I appreciate you, man. So, we picked up two free agents, right? One just before this, we were trying to pronounce his name, Kai Blue Kelly. I believe he came from the Commanders. Only concern is obviously DC Richardson he wasn't active last week, which was really tough. I think we elevated Sam Webb to the 53-man roster.
Yeah.
And so do you think that it's just the practice squad? Do you think there's any chance that this kid actually gets elevated to the 53-man? Chris, I'll throw it at you.
Yeah, I think I mean I got to see more of them. I think we still are kind of light. Did they already announce what's happening with Jack Jones? Is he's not able to play, right? Did they announce that yet?
No, they didn't hand out any suspensions, so we're good.
But I mean, but they're going to, right? I mean, isn't that policy that if you get kicked out of the game, or is that just
so that's
college?
what I thought? But I heard that the league is not handing out suspensions.
Oh, okay.
So
Okay.
Once I saw some punches being thrown,
Right.
I knew
Right.
they're suspended, and then it's Jack Jones and it's the
Yeah.
Raiders. So I was like,
Yeah.
Hey, see,
He's
you guys
an
were-
easy target. He's an easy target.
You guys were there. I saw some clips, and it looked like Jack Jones more or less was trying to pull guys off and separate as opposed to actually throwing physical punches, like actual punches. So, I mean, I don't know. You guys might have seen different clips, but it didn't look like
he didn't start it. It was more. I mean, the thing is, they've been kind of going at it, all day anyway. But it seemed like he was trying to help his teammate out, which you got to respect that. But the thing is, just like I was talking to some of my brothers, man, like Jack has to have a cooler head, man. I mean, he's the thing that we're seeing, are things that we've already heard about him. Like one thing, just out of respect to AP, man, you got to be on your best behavior because there's already a target on you. Now, if I'm the opposing team, I'm getting somebody to get under his skin every single week. Like I'm treating 100%. Him like the NBA treated Ron Artest. Get under that dude's skin, get him a techno, get him up out of there.
Yeah.
And Jack might be the type that falls for it, man. So he got to calm down. I remember even Marvin Lewis, on his press conference, before the season started, talking about, he knows he has to reel Jack in. So whether it's him or Rob Ryan or whatever, somebody needs to make that emphasis to make sure you keep Jack together, man, because we can't have no stupid stuff like that.
Nah, man, agreed. Yeah, and that happened basically right where I was sitting. I didn't notice it until because I was at that point the game was over. I was about to bounce. I was already standing up. I was like, I was already like, look, this game's over. Let me get up out of here. And I was like, well, if they do
beat
something
that crowd
crazy,
getting out.
Yeah. I was like, they do something crazy, like they throw a pick six or get a fumble recovery and return it. It's like, okay, then there'll be a game. But I was hedging. I was edging my way up out of there. And then, then that happened. It looked like it was, I think it started with Quentin Johnson and Epps. At first, I want to say those two guys were going at it first.
Yeah.
And then everybody else kind of came in, came in late. And it was wild, man. It was
wild. What I noticed was Quentin, Joshua Palmer, and Jack Jones. I mean, they were going at it all game.
Yeah.
The ball would be on one side, and you see them.
They're pushing
John, or they're I mean, they're putting their hands still on him after the whistle. I mean, it was rowdy. And I'll tell you one thing, and we'll jump back at it. But the one guy that I absolutely just love his play. Going back and watch the film, the All 22 just released a couple hours ago, so I haven't been able to look at it. But Christian Wilkins,
oh man,
is a guy that is going to piss people off, and I love it.
Yeah.
I mean, he pisses people off because he's that guy. I don't know if you guys saw, but we sacked Justin Herbert. He fumbled the ball rolled behind him, and Rashawn Slater went to go cover it,
and he
just put his helmet right in his back. And it's like, look, that should have been a penalty, to be dead honest. I mean, if we're on the opposite end of it, I would have been saying throw the flag. Yeah. But I mean, those are the things. There was I believe it was a false start. Christian Wilkins.
No, we're talking about the fumble. Yeah, the fumble. I think they got brought back because of offsides, right?
Yeah, but there was another one where I think their tight end jumped and Christian Wilkins kind of shot the gap. Whistle was blown. Herbert standing there. And you just saw Christian just kind of walk up and just slightly put a shoulder right into Herbert a little bit.
Yeah.
Another one where Herbert ran to the sideline, I think it was, and Christian Wilkins was coming. They were 5 yards out of bounds, and Christian Wilkins just kind of nonchalantly slapped at the ball, just tried to. And it's those little things that get underneath people's skin.
Yeah.
And he backs it up with his play, which is even better. And so just watching his antics and him being able to back it up, I think is going to be amazing. Putting him and Max Crosby on that same field, that same type of attitude, it's going to be a ripple effect to the rest of this defense. So, but yeah, no, to your guys' point, I mean, it's definitely something you got to just tailor, right? Even, I'll be honest, even Christian Wilkins. I mean, you saw him. I believe he was trying to drive somebody kind of away from that pile when that fight kind of broke out. And it's like, at that point, it's like, hey. And I think he stood up and he squared up on somebody. He was ready.
He did.
Yeah.
And I'm just sitting there going, all right, like, let's just calm things down. That you don't want a suspension. And so I agree. It's kind of nonsense. That I understand emotions. I played a lot of football. I'm not going to say I'm innocent of any of that, but at the end of the day, you still got to keep a cooler head because it's about a team and not your own your own battles during the game. So, but the corner that we picked up, look, I think DC Richardson, we still don't know what's going on with him. He didn't play last game. We elevated Sam Webb to the 53-man roster, so he played last week. So it's definitely a position to watch.
Sam Webb didn't even get it. I don't think he got a snap, from what I recall.
He didn't. He played some special teams.
Yeah,
but that was about it.
Yeah.
So I guess we just got to kind of see what these corners, the health of these corners. Does DC Richardson does he show up? Or Sam Webb going to stay? And this new kid that we picked up, he stays on the 53. It's an open or stays on the practice squad. So, before we get to the other one, shout out to the chat. D Menace, you're rolling through. I appreciate you coming through, man. Again, everybody that's in the chat, if you got a question, it'll catch my eye if you start it with hashtag Raiders. Just go hashtag Raiders and then start your question, and I'll be able to. It'll catch my eye and I can bring it up. Elmatic, I appreciate you throwing in or coming through. Myra G, I didn't say what's up before, but I read your comment. Obviously, something went down in LA, but we ain't gonna go into that. And the two guys that were in LA are already laughing about it. So, and Cool Kev 75, appreciate you rolling through, man. The next one, Caleb Von Chasen. We obviously need depth. Tyree Wilson hasn't come out exactly how severe that injury is. Obviously, he left at halftime, didn't return. We don't know what's going on. Malcolm Koonce, he's off to the IR, right? Yeah. So we bring this kid in. I heard that he went through a physical and we already elevated him to the 53, but I could be wrong. What do you think of this signing? What do you think? What type of impact this could possibly have? Because as much as we have our starters, we got Max, we got Janarius Robinson, Charles Snowden was elevated to the 53. Severe, I'll throw this to you. Do you think he's got a shot at really having an impact this week?
At having an impact? I don't think so. I was looking at his numbers. I know he's a first round pick out of LSU. Supposed to be a pass rusher, but I think he has, in his 4 years, he has 5 career sacks. So it's not a guy, he got cut by, the Jaguars didn't pick up his 5th-year option, let him walk. He signed with the Panthers, a team that was looking to replace, Brian Burns, who walked in free agency, and he didn't even make their 53. So I'm not anticipating him doing anything. More of a body, rotational guy to keep the other guys fresh, but I'm not anticipating him, doing anything of note.
Carolina had high expectations, just trying to bring him in and maybe revive him a little bit after Jacksonville, because he didn't really. You can kind of consider him a bust when you look at his numbers. Yeah. But yeah, Carolina tried to bring him in, and they brought him in the free agency, so they only saw him for a couple months, and then they cut the cord basically. Enough, yeah. So, Chris, what are your thoughts? Do you think he has a chance at possibly helping us out in some way, because our depth is extremely thin at the edge position?
Yeah, so for me, I think that just kind of looking at him, is he going to make a big splash right away? No. I look at him as still more of a project. However, one thing that I do like about him, I feel like he has a motor. And anyone that knows anything about me, especially on defense, I take that over anything, because I feel, and that's why I don't like Tyree and some other guys. You can teach, hand-to-hand combat. You can teach different moves and things like that. But somebody that will, run and not give up on a play, run backside and run all over the field, you can't, and he didn't. I don't even think he played ball that long. I think he was fairly new to football. Like, I don't even think he played like all through high school. He may only play like a year or two. So so I think he was just a good athlete. He has long arms. I think his measurables are pretty decent. I just think if he has a work ethic, like, I think he might get him in there with someone like Max, and maybe he can have the impact on him like we thought that Max would have the impact on Tyree.
So the only thing that I'll add in this whole scenario is because we're very thin, and you look at what our depth chart looks like, right? We got Janarius Robinson on one side. What was shocking to me, and we'll get into the game, but Charles Snowden started over Tyree Wilson that game. That was the first thing that I noticed.
That says a
Tyree
lot.
Wilson
That says a lot.
wasn't even on the field. This is a guy that that didn't even make the initial 53-man roster and then was elevated afterwards. But you look at, we have Max Crosby, we have Janarius Robinson. Janarius Robinson can get out to the quarterback, but he's mainly a really big body that's going to help on the run game, right?
Yeah.
Then behind him, we got Charles Snowden. Charles Snowden, again, not a great pass rusher, but he's going to play a little solid against the run. I think where Caleb on Chason can help us is we're going against the Ravens with Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson is a dual threat quarterback. We're going to need, because Janarius Robinson isn't going to be the best guy to keep Lamar Jackson contained.
No.
Neither is Snowden. I think what he can bring, and I guess the only thing I can also add is we have Rob Leonard. Rob Leonard does a very good job with this D line. He's developed Malcolm Kuntz into what we see today. Janarius Robinson, he's helped him along to develop into a serviceable defensive end that, in my opinion, is showing out more than Tyree Wilson. If we can get him in maybe third down situations where he's rushing and take that athleticism, he's 6'5", 255 pounds. You watch him play a little bit at LSU. Now, obviously, that pass rushing ability didn't translate over too much to the NFL, but he's athletic enough to where if we got to put him in on third down and try to just keep Lamar contained, he's got enough playing experience to where if we throw him in, he's used to playing in the game. That's not a problem.
Good point.
And so I think that where he could help, if we do see him get playing time, is help kind of keep Lamar contained on those third and longs, those passing down situations, because I don't know if Snowden or Janarius Robinson, I just don't know if those guys are going to be able to do it. And if Tyree Wilson can't go, which I don't think Tyree Wilson can do it either,
Exactly.
but if he can't go, then we just need a little more athleticism off the edge.
Yeah.
And, this is where could we possibly see Amari Gainer come off the edge?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think when you play against someone like Lamar, you're not going to need the typical type of pass rusher. You need more gap integrity and, controlling your gap and controlling your lane more than anything. So, having someone out there a little quicker, a little better lateral movement, that's more important than actually rushing and getting to Lamar, because 9 times out of 10, a defensive lineman is not just going to walk down Lamar. Like, you just need to stay home, stay in your lane, kind of keep him boxed in. If anything, make him throw the ball. That's the recipe of beating him. But and I think this kid is athletic enough to can do that. But I love the fact that you brought up Gainer and even Amari Burney. Get some speed out there, see some more Palomau. We have some options.
And the only thing I'll add in Anthony Estrada, yeah, like I just said, yeah, we're going against Lamar, so we're going to need to really contain him and make sure that he just doesn't take off and hurt us with his legs. But the hardest part about defending the Ravens is they play so many double tight end sets that you need bigger bodies in there. And that's the hard part. Right?
Yeah,
putting in a bunch of linebackers, depending on how your linebackers are made up, which we don't necessarily have that. We're going to we might find ourselves in a lot of 5-man fronts. And if we're in 5-man fronts, then we need some guys that can kind of run sideline to sideline when Lamar Jackson wants to drop back. So that's what makes it so difficult to contain Lamar Jackson, because you bring a lot of beef in the game when they run that 12 personnel set and all that. So, all right. So it's time to either piss people off or calm the nerves down. So Chris, I hope you're ready, because you told me this is kind of your first live since the game. And so let's kind of get into this, right? Let's talk about winners and losers first. Okay. We'll get into that fourth down. We'll get into, some of the concerns I think the majority of the Raider fan base is already just going back and forth about, but we're going to talk about winners and losers. let's get to the chat real quick. Dub Raider, I appreciate you rolling through again. Reminder, guys, just put hashtag Raiders, and I'll try to bring you up on the screen if you got a question. And so let's talk about offense first. Okay, I understand that we stalled out quite a bit, only scored 10 points. We wish we could have capitalized, maybe finished some drives throughout the game. But kind of, Chris, I'll throw it to you first. Give us a possible winner on the offensive side of the ball.
I think Brock Bowers played well. I think he played well. Not only, he had some big catches, but when you go back and watch the film, he stuck his head in there and was blocking too. And that's kind of the thing I was saying about him. Like, yeah, he's not going to be like a mauler, like how Jeremy Shockey was back in the day or anything like that. But he's physical enough and athletic enough that can, he can block. He can at least get in the way. And I was impressed with that. I was impressed with him being physical. So he was a winner for me. Madison, he made a great play. Like he showed us what running backs need to do. I mean, sometimes you have to make somebody miss. Like the hole's not always going to be there. You have to make someone miss, however you need to do it. And
that was a hell of a run after catch.
Yeah, for sure. It was.
You know what I'm saying?
And then if I had to give a third one,
we only scored 10 points. You don't need to give us a third.
Yeah, I was about to say now I'm reaching, man. Now I'm reaching.
I'm just saying if you can think of some winners. Let's put it that way.
Yeah,
I don't need three.
Yeah, I'm about to say I'm gonna stay there. I'm gonna stay there.
Yeah, the only thing I'll add to that is I think Alexander Mattson did enough to where AP went up on the podium yesterday and said, we're going to go with the hot hand. I mean, when you come out and you just say, we got to go with the hot hand, that means that your backups did something.
Yeah.
And Alexander Mattson definitely did something. So, Severe, I'll throw it at you. 1 or 3 are not very many winners on Sunday.
I mean, I think Brock Bowers is a good one. My number one will probably be Alexander Mattson, just by default. First of all, because we'll get to that later, but we know how Zamir performed, and he had the only touchdown we had on offense. So, that was something right there. And then Jacoby, just because if you looking at the stat sheet, you don't really see it. You don't see what Jacoby does, but being there at the game, you see how physical he is. And that dude is, and then he had that big catch later on as well. But just watching him play, like he's an impressive dude, man. He's an impressive dude.
Yeah, and I mean, let's do this again. We scored 10 points. I agree with you guys. Brock Bowers, his first game as a rookie, he showed up. You can't argue that. Jacoby Myers had some solid catches. He did his thing as we expected him to. And Alexander Mattson, scoring our only touchdown, you got to say that. And AP saying that he's going to go with the hot hand, he obviously did something right. So, no, can't argue or anything to that, to be dead honest with you, because we'll definitely go into losers, and I think we're going to have plenty of losers on the offensive side. But before I get into that, I'm going through this chat, and obviously something went down in LA because you guys keep talking. This chat is going off about stuff that went down in LA. So I'm happy you guys had a good time. I wish I could have been there. I wish I could have rocked at you guys, but I'm just glad you guys had a good time. Again, we ain't getting into details. There might be some kids watching. So let's do this. Let's get into losers. Okay. Let's get into the losers of the offense. Chris, go for it.
The whole offensive line.
Thank you.
The whole. There, not one offensive lineman played well. Not one.
Thank you.
Not one. Zamir White.
Yes.
Honestly, everybody besides the two that I named for the winners, man. I mean, but not really, but definitely the offensive line. Like I think Tay played well. Like he said, Jacoby played well. But yeah, that offensive line was just trash. I mean, there was nothing that I could take away that was like no one even looked halfway decent. I'm talking about our best lineman literally was just getting moonwalked back to the quarterback. Just moonwalked, man. So I'm just stay there. I'm not gonna go too hard, but the whole offensive line.
Yeah.
Can't complain there. Severe. Who do you got?
It's Amir White, man. It's Amir White. And he's a guy I supported, man. He's a guy I've been supporting. And he tried to redeem.
Hold on. But before I let you cook, man, I'm gonna stop your whistle for. He was all on my neck when Josh Jacobs had a terrible stat line. He was on my neck that game, and he was. Oh, at least Amir ain't gonna be blah blah.
Yeah, man. Look, I thought there was no way in the world.
That was the moment Chris was waiting for this entire time.
Chris pounced on that. Man, he couldn't wait for that. He couldn't wait.
He had a reminder on his phone.
They was on my neck, though. They was on my neck, real talk.
He had that message saved.
I love it.
Just waiting to press him. Yeah, but Zamir White was horrible, man, especially in the first half. I think he redeemed himself somewhat in the second half, but at that point it was too little, too late. You know, then that fumble. Like, as soon as we tried to get the running game going, he started to make some headway. He fumbled. You know, he had another big run. He got called back by a penalty. Then he had some runs late, but at that point, you know, like I said, it was too little, too late. So I think he was a big loser. As Chris said, the offensive line was just trash. It was so bad. Honorable mentions, man. Actually, Michael Mayer is an honorable mention, just because, you know, I really didn't see him get a whole lot of separation out there. You know, they kind of had a plan in place to. I think they had a plan in place to stop him. So whoever they had on him, I forgot the guys. With Colson, I think every time you saw the field.
Oh, Junior Colson.
It was Colson on him, and Colson, just his athleticism. Yeah, his athleticism was giving Bowers some issues, and I have to go back and watch the film on this play. But Devontae might be an honorable mention too, because on that fumble, I think that was supposed to be like a wide receiver screen,
and Devontae didn't even take off,
and Devontae didn't do what he's supposed to do, and then that's what made Gardner.
That's what made him kind of come back.
Oh,
I gotta look at that. I didn't even think about that. I was wondering who he was throwing to.
Yeah,
so Devontae just wasn't there.
Yeah, he didn't do what he's supposed to do on that play. And
I mean, I think that one, it was a quick hitch.
Yeah.
No, but I think what happened, and I went back to watch it. That corner was going to jump that thing.
Jumped it.
If Gardner Minshew would have thrown that, that's pick six.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so
that's why I love having this show with you guys, man, because I didn't even see that part. I didn't even look at it that deeply. But that's a game. I mean, not a game changer, but that says a lot, man. I mean, that says a lot.
But at the same time, Severe, to your point, and I'll go a step extra. Like, as soon as that ball was released, you had Harrison Bryant on the sideline pointing, and you could see his mouth was moving, get on the ball, and Devonta Adams is just standing there, not doing anything.
I need to go back and watch that.
And the number one thing you do as a receiver, quarterback, anybody close to that ball, you get on that football.
Yeah.
Even if it's questionable that it's a lateral pass, you get on that ball, and Devontae just kind of stood there.
Yeah, well,
you know, credit to Minshew. He took off. He tried.
He was too slow. It's
Minshew. You know what I'm saying? So
that's a good take, man. That's a good take. I gotta check that one out.
So I'm with you. You got Rambo Adventure. Hey man, I think you're saying you from Thailand, man. I appreciate you checking in. You're saying Colt Miller, Zeus, Minshew.
Yeah, man. Colton was
bad.
Colton
man.
just looked, he looked bad.
He was bad. Man.
Footwork was bad. Oh yeah.
Leo's question: do we think Mumford was bad?
Oh yes.
Yeah.
Mumford was bad too.
There's no exceptions on that.
So Nick 209, I appreciate you rolling through. You guys have Minshew and O-line improving anytime soon. I'm gonna touch on Minshew real quick because here's my thing. And this kind of goes into a different topic, and maybe I'll leave it for later. But considering everything that was going on with our offensive line, and you guys saw it in person. Sometimes watching in person is different than watching on just TV, and I haven't seen the all 22 yet. But I don't think Minshew played an awful game.
He didn't.
Okay.
He didn't.
So
Thank you.
we'll get into that in a second. But again, Onyx Soldier, man, I appreciate you rolling through. Always see you in here. I appreciate that. You know, losers, you guys kind of said it. In my opinion, I think it was just strictly the offensive line. We couldn't run the ball. We tried to establish the run in the second half. And the thing is I think that was a really good adjustment. That was one of my biggest things I wanted to see out of Lugetzi is the halftime adjustments. How do you adjust at halftime? And because this is the very first game of the season. So a lot of teams can assume what other teams want to do, right? We assume that Jim Harbaugh wanted to run the rock, just run the football. But when it's the first game of the season, you just never know. So you got to figure out what are those halftime adjustments, what are those adjustments being made. And I think that Lugetzi came out and they tried to run the rock. That first run of, I don't know, I think he ripped off like 12, 13 yards, and there was a hold on Michael Mayer, which was a crap hold, by the way.
That was crazy.
Horrible call, man.
Horrible call. And then the very next one, he rips off almost 8-9 yards and he fumbles. Okay, so that stalls out, right? And then the very next drive, the next possession, I think Zamir White had like a 7-8 yarder. I think Alexander Madsen had a decent carry, and then it was back-to-back sacks.
Yeah,
that just stalled the drive out.
Yeah,
I mean,
get off schedule.
I think they tried to establish a run. We just stalled. We had penalties or fumbles, and so I think it was that was tough. But so let's do this. Let's flip to the defensive side. All right, let's flip to the defensive side real quick. And so let's talk about losers first. All right, and I think we all can agree on one loser. I think we're all going to mention it. Chris, I haven't heard you talk about it. Severe, I haven't heard you talk about it, but I have a good feeling that we're all going to agree on one name. But Severe, I'll throw it to you first. Let's talk about defense and chat. Again, let me throw this out there, chat. I appreciate you guys rolling through. Make sure you go to Chris, Protect the Shield podcast. Always throwing stuff out there. Go over there. Make sure that you subscribe to him. If you're already subscribed and you're watching from his channels, hit that like button. If you're watching from mine, hit that like button. If you guys go to The Severe Raider, always throwing fire content as well. Go subscribe. If you're watching at his channel, hit that like button. Make sure that we all share the love around here. And so, Severe, I'll throw it to you. Losers on the defensive side.
I think the low hanging fruit here is Tyree Wilson, because he finally gets the opportunity.
Okay.
And first of all, he doesn't even start. And then he plays 6 snaps and then he gets hurt. So that's low hanging fruit. But the guy I'm going with, Trevon Merrick. He had, first of all, he had that missed that open field tackle, and J.K. Dobbins went for a long way after that. And then that intercept, like his hand, and it would have been a tough catch, but you make that play, you make that interception, that's a game changer. And that's what you're here for. You know, you're not here because you're some big hitter. You know, you're here to be a cover guy, and you're here to take the ball away. And he had the opportunity to do that, and he didn't do it. And I just didn't think he played that well today, or on Sunday rather.
All right, Chris, go for it.
Yeah, definitely Tyree. Even though he did make the one pull, or he helped cause the one sack. However, he didn't get blocked. He could have had to sack himself. I feel like, I don't know, he got caught with the pump fake, but whatever. That's I'm not gonna go in on that. I feel like I've been a big supporter of Diablo. When I went back and started watching, it's like he just not good at taking on blocks.
I want to say it was a few run fits that I saw. It was like,
it's like he's not filling his gap. He's over pursuing. So if a running back cuts back, it's and Mork, that's a great take on Mork, because he's so off and on. And then when you look at like Epps was balling. I liked a lot that I saw, and I know we'll kind of talk about.
Epps was balling.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. And then in Mork, and we always keep talking about these almost interceptions he gets. He's like the king of almost interceptions. It's like they hit his hand. I mean, how many times? What, last year, the year before? It's like you have chances to make these plays that could, literally change the momentum, and you just don't come up with it, man. So
He's the art and key of safeties. It's like,
yeah, almost. He's Mr. Almost, man. So and I like him, man. But it's like, come on, man. It's time to you got to make those plays, man.
Yeah, you do it now, and it's Morgan missed a tackle. Epps took a horrible angle.
Oh my God, yeah.
On that first run, I believe it was, where J.K.
It's
Dobbins
like he
took
came
off.
down too much. Like
it was basically it was a zone run. J.K. and Divine Diablo took a horrible. He basically tried to fill the wrong gap. That's basically what he did.
Yeah.
he did.
And he got washed out, and then Marcus Epps comes up, and he's just coming up to a pile, and J.K. Dobbins did what a running back's supposed to do, and he found light, took it, and he was gone.
He's out of there.
And so that's the hard part is, in my opinion, I mean, it's got to go to Divine Diablo, because I think one of the adjustments, and again, I just talked about adjustments. One of the adjustments that I saw the Chargers do is in that second half, they targeted Divine Diablo, not only in the run game, because every long run or decent gain was right at Divine Diablo, but also in the passing game. The amount of times that receivers crossed Diablo's face, or they actually threw it into his zone, and Divine Diablo was just guarding grass, that he was just sitting in open field. He wasn't trying to at least lean or shift to a man in his zone. He was just sitting in open grass. Yeah. And then by the time he was actually trying to go and get the receiver after he caught the ball, he'd missed the tackle. I mean, to me, Divine Diablo just, man, he struggled. That was the hardest part for me. And so, defensively, the score should have been 7-0. If it wasn't for going for it on fourth down early with 5 minutes left in the first quarter.
Good point.
And then Minshew's fumble, the backwards pass. If it wasn't for those two, we go in halftime 7-0.
Yeah.
So I think as a whole, the defense played extremely well. Yes, they gave up some the long runs. They kind of loosened up a little bit in the second half, but that's what happens when your defense tends to constantly be on the field. And you don't get that momentum swing from your offense to kind of give you that just kind of that extra emotion to get back on that field. And so we went over losers on defense, any winners on defense. Any winners on defense? Chat, I'm going to catch up with this. Before we get to the winners on defense, I think there was one, Nick 209, I believe it was. I think you had a question, and it was basically about just overall the O-line. Is it going to get better? I'll be dead honest, and guys, correct me if I'm wrong or if you have a different take, but I just don't know when this O-line is going to get better, because I think there's starting pieces on this O-line. We don't even know how Jackson Powers-Johnson is going to perform once he gets out there. We don't even know when he's going to get out there. I don't know when this O-line is going to get better, and that's the hard part. I think the worst offensive lineman, in my opinion, was Dylan Parham.
Yes.
But then
he was bad.
Cody Whitehair was very close behind him. I mean, I've been negative on Cody Whitehair.
I don't know. Andre James was very bad too.
too.
Gosh, he was bad.
That's what I'm saying. I think it's hard to pinpoint one.
It is.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's why he's got to give it to all of them.
Exactly. I think as a whole, they just didn't perform. But I will say the only one that I noticed the least, and in football, when you're noticed the least, especially on the offensive line, the better it is for you.
Yeah.
What's there, Mumford? I think I noticed him the least out of all of them. But and the only thing I'll say when it comes to the offense, and then we'll jump back on the defense, is I think that Chargers defense was a little bit better than we expected. I knew they were going to be good, but I think that Chargers defense is actually pretty damn good.
Yeah.
And so
I
kind of just
think you guys think they were that good? I just think
Puna Ford was a force, man. Puna Ford, and then Denzel Perryman, like we play right into their hands. Like that's what Denzel Perryman wants to do. He wants to come downhill and tackle in the run game. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's what he wanted to do. And if we really couldn't get the run game going at all, so play action wasn't really effective. So we really couldn't, start using that. I would rather have seen us, if anything, if we're gonna do that, spread those guys out, make them guard, make it
in
skill on
space,
skill,
in
skill
space.
on
Yep,
skill. Our skill
yep.
players are better than your defensive skill players, and quick wins. Let's get some quick wins. And
And
I think we went into the game thinking we were going to run the ball, and we weren't able to do that, and then we weren't able to recover. But in terms of the offensive line, I think it's going to take some time for these guys to gel. It's all about cohesion when you're in the offensive line. Colton Miller's missed a whole bunch of time, and he's coming back off shoulder surgery. Man, that's tough to say. But and then he's facing Khalil Mack. Khalil Mack knows he's coming off of surgery, so he's
Yeah,
targeting that. And he's a power rusher. Miller, he struggles with power rushers. That's forever since UCLA. So it was just a convergence of bad things. But I think once we get JPJ back, and get some chemistry with those guys, I think that the offensive line will improve. And when they improve, I think Gardner Minshew will improve.
and that's part of it is we knew that this O-line was going to take some time, right? Colton Miller didn't play a single snap in preseason, didn't have an off season. It was going to take him a half a game, maybe even a full game, just to kind of get back into the swing of things. And honestly, I kind of put that on the coaching staff. I put that on the coach. You didn't prepare this offensive line well enough, especially with JPJ out with a non-contact concussion injury after a concussion history in college. I mean, this is that part I think has pissed me off the most. One thing, Miguel Guerrero, man, I appreciate you coming through. Luke Getsy. If you're saying that Luke Getsy maybe was, and correct me if I'm getting your comment wrong, but maybe Luke Getsy was a loser possibly. The one thing I will say about that is, do I agree on that 4th and 1 play early in the game? No, I think that was a bad
yeah.
play call.
Shotgun.
How you're running a downhill run in the shotgun formation boggles my mind. But at the same time, with what Gardner Minshew did, and with the adjustments that he tried to make in the second half, but again, penalties, fumbles, stuff like that, it just kind of threw everything off. And so I'm not putting all the blame on Luke Getsy. There was definitely some questionable calls, but I don't know if me personally would put all of it on Luke Getsy. And so
I wouldn't either. There were some plays there to be made. I think I talked to Chris earlier. There was a run early in the game. They got stuffed where Samir White, if he finds the cutback lane, follows Michael Mayer, it goes at least 10, 15 yards, at least, possibly, and with his speed,
Yeah, he could be out of there.
possibly more. So there are some plays out there to be made, but like it's so dependent upon your offensive line blocking. That's where I think he's a loser. Like, I don't think he had these guys ready enough for the challenge that they were going to be facing. They're facing two of the better edge rushers in the league, and Jesse Mentor was the guy. We saw what he did last year with the Michigan Wolverines. I mean, Chris can speak to that even more so than either of us, because that's his team. He's a guy that he likes to bring. He's gonna bring pressure. He's gonna bring pressure.
I'm with you. Measy Box, I appreciate you rolling through. Diablo needs to be on the bench. I can't disagree. And we got guys
Tommy,
like
Tommy.
Eichenberg.
I mean, they're healthy. We go put them on a bench for a nothing. Put him on a bench for a doctor's note. Doctor's note with the tackle.
All right, so once again, Chad, I appreciate you guys rolling through. We got a lot of people in the building. Again, if you got a question, just hashtag Raiders first, then ask the question. I'm going to keep scrolling through this chat. I want to make sure I get through it. So real quick, we're going to get into we are going to dive into the details of the game. But last one, winners on the defense. All right, defense played well overall. Yes, there was definitely some hiccups. Again, it's hard when you're the shoulders of this entire team is just sitting on the defense. But let's go through some winners. So, Chris, I'll throw it to you. Give us some of your winners on the defensive side, and chat. Let us know who your winners are as well.
I really liked what Christian Wilkins brought to the table. I think that was we haven't seen a presence like that in the middle in a long time. Just his quickness, his hand movement. He was he like you said, and he brings that attitude. Like you could tell he's down there getting under them linemen's skin. He was as good as advertised to me. But I like what I saw out of Adam Butler. I mean, I think Adam Butler was again, he's a guy that has a motor. He's not giving up on plays. He's like a little wrecking ball down there. In fact, he was one of the main reasons that Max was able to get that sack. I think he was able to take on 2 blockers, and I think Max kind of stunned it behind him. But I like what I saw out of those 2 guys. I think I'm not ever gonna go a week without my boy JB. My boy JB played well.
Definitely.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? JB Agent Zero.
Rambo Adventure. He agrees.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yep. My boy JB did his thing. I'm gonna always remind y'all of that. But and I think
you are.
Yeah, I am. And then I think Epps played well too. I feel like Epps was all over the field. He was where he was supposed to be, made tackles when he needed to. So those are the guys that kind of stood out to me.
So we'll dive in the chat a little bit. Nick 209, Severe, I'll let you give your piece as well. Defense had to play over aggressive because of lack of offense. I mean, there does kind of become a point in time when defense, you just feel that pressure on your shoulders. When you start to feel just like that offense really isn't going to produce, then you do feel that pressure. You know what I'm saying? And Myra G, defense was gas in the 4th quarter. I mean, guys, did it look like, I'm not going to read the tail end of that comment, but did the defense look gassed in person in the game? I guess that's my question to you guys, because you guys were there. You guys were watching it.
I don't know. I wouldn't necessarily not overall. Maybe John, like on that big run that basically sealed the game on a J.K. Dobbins run. If John Jenkins is able to shed that block there, I think he has. It seemed like he had a hand free. He had a shoulder in that gap, but he just wasn't able to shed that block. And I think early in the game he might have been able to get off that block and make that play. So maybe got a few guys here, but overall, no, I thought those guys were. I think those guys were still playing. I think more than anything, they were pressing because they felt that they had to make a play rather than just play the defense. I think they were like, you know what, we have to do something because our offense is not generating anything, so we have to make a big play. And I think that's when they started to kind of play. I don't want to say hero ball, but they started to get a little overzealous, and that's what led to some of that, like I said, they're missing run fits, bad eyes and stuff like that.
That's spot on. That's spot on, because as a defense, imagine how those guys felt on the sideline, knowing that your offense is scared to go for it on 4th and 1. So you're almost in a mindset we got to do what we did last year against the Chiefs, or we got to go score a touchdown, or we got to somehow make this happen. Defenses shouldn't have to feel like that, man. I mean, it's all about complementary football. I feel like the defense that's such a good comment, Severe, because you could tell they had a different mindset. Okay, we got to go make this happen, and that's not their job necessarily. Your job is just to stop the offense. You shouldn't have to score points too.
Yeah, Chris, you got another one. Me Easy Box, Jacorian Bennett, a winner.
Yeah.
You got a little fan base, Chris. I don't know what's going on here.
Telling you, man, I'll be having the right takes sometimes.
Yeah.
The one thing that I'll point out, and I agree with you guys 100% actually across the board. And the one thing that I actually loved seeing in the very beginning of the game was Patrick Graham was bringing heat. I mean, he was being aggressive. He was blitzing from all sides. He was basically trying to shut down that run game. And one of my keys to victory was make them as one-dimensional as possible. Now, they started to open up the Chargers, opened up the pass game a little bit because, again, we kind of softened up, which was tough. But in the very beginning, we made them very one-dimensional. We brought the house. We were bringing pressure. We were shutting down their run game. And then Herbert basically had a bunch of number 2s to throw to. Joshua Palmer, Quentin Johnson,
boy Ladd
McConkey. Juked out 2 of our safeties, unfortunately. But, I mean, he's throwing to a bunch of number 2s for the most part. You know, DJ Chark, the only real like true veteran, wasn't playing.
Yeah.
And so I wanted Patrick Graham to basically be like, look, let's shut one aspect down and make you very one-dimensional. And I think he did that. He achieved that for the majority of the game. But again, I think the Chargers made the right adjustments, and unfortunately, that kind of leads to just being out coached a little bit. So, but we're going to get into that in just a second. And so, again, guys, everybody in the chat, I appreciate you guys rolling through. I'm trying to run through some of these comments. You guys are throwing out the same facts we are, which I love. Raider G, we have talked about the surprise Carlson miss yet.
Huge.
Yeah.
It is huge. It's huge, but I think that, in my opinion, it happened early enough to where you got to recover off of it.
Oh yeah,
it was huge.
Sure.
I don't like it. Those are momentum swings. You know what I'm saying? But because I mean, I
think that changed the game. I think, in my opinion, that changed the game because that we had an opportunity, because at that point the score was 9-7. We had an opportunity to kick a field goal. We go up by 1 point, and we're kicking off to them. And what happened there is that we missed the field goal. We give them the ball back in pretty good field position, and they go down the field and they score a touchdown. And now it's 16-7. It's a 2-score game, and that essentially eliminates the run. Right? You can no longer really say, "Hey, we want to run the ball. We're going to stick to the run game." At that point, you got to kind of start passing a little bit more, just because you got to make up that 2-score deficit. And with the way the offense had been performing at that point, and I think that just your game plan kind of goes out the window.
Mm-hmm.
That and that fourth one early in the game, because you want to stay ahead of them, and you want to kind of force that. At that point you want to force them to start passing. You don't want them to, hey, we can run the ball and kind of kill clock, and giving them that early score that kind of put them ahead of us, and that kind of race to score, put up points early. I think if we put up some points early and they don't, I think that maybe changes their calculation and make them, start pressing a little bit.
So I think that was, and we'll get into that. We'll get into that side of it, and just kind of the game played, right? The coaching decisions, and we're going to talk about the quarterback play. So for all you guys that are on the Minshew versus Aiden O'Connell fence, get ready for it. But
they're triggered right now.
Yeah, just to hang on. We're going to get to it. But there was a lot of talk, and we'll talk about the 4th and 1 in the fourth quarter. Okay, we're going to talk about that. But the one that I was very disappointed about was going forward on 4th and 1. Now, you don't, at least at a very minimum, challenge that Trey Tucker screen.
My God, come on, yeah.
So at a very minimum, you challenge it, because that was a horrible spot. You're gonna, if you don't have to challenge whether or not it's a first down. You challenge the spot.
Yeah.
Because even if they find it, they find
just
that they have to correct themselves.
Yeah, you don't lose.
Then
you
win the challenge.
Mm-hmm.
You win the challenge, and that's the difference. And so you guys were at the game. I'm here at home. I'm watching it, and I actually rewound that thing probably 10 times and paused it to see how close was Trey Tucker. And the only angle I could see is, I think that could have been 4th and inches versus a 4th and a yard.
Yeah.
And that's a big difference between running the play that we did and a possible quarterback sneak.
Mm-hmm.
And so, why don't you at least challenge it, and you challenge the spot, and you can win the spot. You may not get the first amount, you win the spot, and you could possibly run a quarterback sneak. But I don't know why you go for it right there. You're early in the game. You're going for it on your own 41-yard line. You're on 41, which means you automatically put them in field goal range. Exactly. Which in the score 0-0, if they even gain 5, 6, 7 yards, they kick the field goal. Now they put the first points on the board.
Exactly.
You don't do that. And up to that point, I know it was early, 5 minutes left in the game, but you already knew this was going to be a defensive battle.
Exactly.
So you don't allow them to put the first points on the board of the game. Like you just don't give them that opportunity. And so that was the biggest, I think, question mark I had in that the beginning of the game. Okay. So scratch that. Again, if you guys agree, if you don't agree, let me know. But it does look like you guys agree. But let's talk about that 4th down That 4th and 1, 7 minutes left, down by 6. It's been one of the biggest controversies outside of quarterbacks, and we'll get to that, chat. But biggest controversies. Chris, I'm going to throw it to you. What's your thoughts, and how do you feel that on that 4th and 1 decision?
You know, when I went back and watched, you know, a lot of the game, a part of me understands, just because we were stopping them, but the thing that gets me is when I think about AP and kind of what he stands for and kind of what he promised us. We're going to be physical. We're going to, you know, like my boy Hugh Jackson used to say, we're going to build a bully. We're, you know, we're not going to be pushed around. I mean, this is what he hangs his hat on, you know. So you got to go for that. You have to. I mean, there's no reason for you to be a defensive minded guy that preaches physicality all the time and you don't have faith in your guys. Like you need to. And I know we talked about this on another show I had, but I mean, you need to call a timeout, go in that huddle, look at them guys like, can you guys win your one-on-one matchup? Yeah. Look at them in their eyes. Andre James, are you going to effing block? Are you going to block a guy so we can get 1 yard? Like, see how he feels when you say that to him, man.
Yeah. Severe, go for it. What's your thoughts on that?
So I think there was a stat that was like there were 64 teams that were in that situation, down by a touchdown, in the opponent and between the opponent's 40 and 49 yard line, 4th and 1 with like less than 8 minutes left. Of those 64 teams, 63 of them went for it. Guess who's the one team that didn't? Guess who was the one team
that stat was pretty brutal to
so
learn.
You know it goes counter to everything that AP has preached.
Everything.
It goes counter to everything AP has preached, you know, and he's a guy that was supposed to be aggressive. I'm gonna trust in my players. And you know, I'm sure those guys are itching for an opportunity to, hey, you know what? Let us get a chance right here. You know what? You know, I know we haven't been executing all game. Let us get a chance right here to kind of redeem ourselves. And he didn't give him that chance. And you know those guys have to feel that. Like our coach didn't trust us to get 1 yard in the 4th quarter, and that kind of stuff could linger with guys. And you know, you kind of hate to see that.
No, and that's, I agree. You know, as a coach of the game, I've coached for quite a while. You look at that situation, and it's not about kind of the statistics or anything like that. It's about feel. It's about understanding the moment in the game. And I believe if I go back, I think we were on their 43 yard line, I believe, or something like that. I think we were on like on their side of the field. And it's like you needed a momentum swing at that point. I understand your confidence level in the offense getting that yard was probably not very big, but if your confidence level, let's do this. If your confidence level to not get that single yard, how is your confidence level to punt that ball away, stop them, they punt the ball back to you, and now you got to travel 70.
They got to go. Yeah, they got to go again. You're already
like,
in the plus side. What are you doing?
Exactly. Like that's the hard part is you almost have to take advantage of those opportunities when you have them. And to your point, Severe, and Chris, I don't know if you said it, but if you did, you need to instill some confidence. Yeah. That's the biggest thing. You got it. There's certain moments, and I forget which moment it was. I think it was actually against the Steelers last year with Josh McDaniels, where he didn't go for two or something like that. Where there's certain moments in a season that you can send a message to your team, and it can set the tone for the rest of the season. And you're going into a Ravens game,
right?
Like you want to be able to have those talking points in the locker room. That you got that first down. I had faith in you. I basically told you guys, get out there and get this first down. And you did it, you know? And so obviously it can go a different way, but if you had that much confidence in your defense, because they really only ripped off 3 long runs, that was really it.
Yeah.
There's a couple different decent passes, but they only ripped off 3 or 2 long runs. That was it. I think J.K. Dobbins ended with like 130 something yards, and he got like 80 of it or 90 of it on 2 plays. I mean, if you have that much confidence, then you go for it. And I think, Severe, you said, to your point, it's like that's been your mentality. That's why you were hired on as the coach, because
Right.
you're bringing this
Right.
we're gonna punch you in the mouth mentality.
Yeah.
And then this is what you do. Now, one thing I will say is that, you got the 2 old school coaches, Coughlin
And Marvin Lewis.
Marvin Lewis. I mean, I don't know how much they're in his ear.
And that was my point.
Look, even more so, right? Who did Antonio Pierce coach under at Arizona State?
Marvin
Herm
Lewis.
Edwards.
Herm Edwards.
Herm,
Yeah.
What is him?
Oh,
What
did
is
he? I didn't know that.
Yeah. Herm Edwards was the head coach. Marvin Lewis was the DC, and then they kind of flopped
They
like
flopped.
that
Yeah.
second year.
That's right.
But what is Herm Edwards? What is he famous for? What is he famous for? You play to win the game. You play to win the game. And he wasn't playing to win the game. He was playing not to lose the game. And in that situation, you say, you know what? Our offense is struggling to move the ball. We're in plus territory right now. All right. It's no guarantee we're going to be here again. There's not a guarantee we're going to be here again. We're going to take advantage of the opportunity we have now. And the fact that you would go for it on 4th and 1 from their damn, on your in your own territory and not go for it in plus territory is like, come on, bro. Like, so did that one miss? Did that like totally
mess you up? Yeah.
Like you're totally jaded on our offense now. You don't believe in this anymore because you went for it earlier. So now you're saying we can't get it. So I think at that point you got to go for him. And just his decision making. He's supposed to have a guy, Matt Sheldon, I believe, he's supposed to be like the guy that helps him with late game decision making challenges.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if this dude was
hanging with Eichenberg.
It's like he was back there kicking with Eichenberg. They playing 3-card money or something like that. I don't know what these dudes was doing, but they for sure know. Is it Tommy Eichenberg? Was they sharing a Roscoe's meal together? I don't
Shout
know.
out to Roscoe. Shout out to Roscoe. That's a firewall.
Did you make it?
Was they eating
I
some
did.
Randy's
Yeah, I was
donuts?
there, man.
Was they eating some Randy's donuts or something?
Yeah, and Randy's donuts, man. I'm surprised Turf let me have one, man. The way he was guarding that box.
There was one spot that
3 timeouts, and it's like, come on, dog.
There was one spot that I wanted you to check out, but Severe told me it was closed when we did live before that. So there's a barbecue spot just north that I used to go to when I played ball in Inglewood, and so it's a good spot, but apparently it's closed after COVID. So at the end of the day, and we'll make this one quick because we want to get into the quarterback situation, the quarterback talks. I promised you, chat, we're gonna get into it, so get live. Let's make this happen. But everybody's now talking about AP. I knew we had to win this game because the talk of, you should have hired Harbaugh was going to start, and it started instantly. And so, look, the only thing I'll add is we brought on Antonio Pierce, and for those of you that wanted Antonio Pierce, you should have been prepared for these growing pains. I mean, and I wanted Antonio Pierce. I was okay with it. Not saying that the arguments for Harbaugh weren't valid. He's a winner. I get it. Those were valid. But I wanted Antonio Pierce, which means I have to be okay with these growing pains, not challenging the call for Trey Tucker, not going for it late in the 4th, but all of a sudden wanting to go for it in the early. Like these, I'll own it. But I knew that this was going to be the case going into it. And so it's unfortunate, but this is the ride we're on right now. And let's just hope that Antonio Pierce continues to improve. The coaches around him kind of corral. But again, it's game 1. It's a long season. Let's hope we turn this thing around very, very quickly and we don't get too deep into the woods. And so salute to the chat. I appreciate you guys. Everybody rolling through. Larry Fleming, you're coming through. Just another DJ. I appreciate you pulling up. Nothing But Raiders podcast. I appreciate you rolling through, man, as well. I'm gonna keep trying to get to you guys. My guy, LA Raider 11. I appreciate you rolling through Eli W. Let's talk about the quarterback situation. Again, I think we all kind of knew it. We all was going to happen. If we lost, unfortunately, Minshew had kind of that backwards pass fumble. Everybody started turning. The Aiden O'Connell fans started turning, and they're now saying they want Aiden O'Connell. I'm going to give you my take in chat. Let me hear you if you disagree. I'll give you my take very quickly. You take in consideration how bad the offensive line played. You take into consideration that this is a brand new offense. The first time you're going full speed with basically all your starters, because Devontae Adams didn't play a lot of the preseason. And you're going against a very good defense. You're going live for the first time. A lot of people said Minshew missed some reads. Guess what? It's going to happen when you're learning and trying to execute a brand new offense. You're going to miss some reads. It's going to happen. And guess what? Veteran quarterbacks miss reads as well. It's going to happen. So we're going to tie that up. Gardner Minshew threw for 257 yards. I believe his completion rating was about 75%.
Yeah.
His QB rating was 91, and he had 0 blocking. And I want to watch that all 22 because I want to see how well did those receivers actually get open. You guys were there. I don't know if Trey Tucker was going deep and wide open. I don't know if there were times where he could have taken a deep shot. One of the things I wanted to see was us take at least 3-4 deep shots, extend those safeties, push those safeties back to kind of open up that 30 yards and under, and we really didn't do it. Now, again, I'm watching on TV, so I don't know whether or not it was possible. But even if it was possible, Gardner Minshew had a guy in his face all the time.
Yeah.
Now, the only thing I wish Gardner Minshew would have done a little bit more, and it's because I think we brought him on as the starter, was use his feet. Yeah. Just scramble, get a couple first downs, move the chains a little bit. He tried. I know Bosa clipped his foot one time, and he might have gotten a first down.
That was a great play by Bosa.
Yeah, because he would have went like 20 for that one. Like he was, and that was on the third down too.
Yeah,
that would have kept the drive going.
But I wish I would have seen a little bit more because he was supposed to be that mobile quarterback to kind of help that O-line, right? And it didn't look like it was really there. So, I'm not putting this loss on Gardner Minshew. He basically had the one interception that it happens to everybody. It was a batted pass, whatever. Yeah. The backwards pass, it's unfortunate.
Yeah.
All I got to say is shit happens, but you had one turnover. Exactly. As a quarterback, if you take away that interception of that batted pass. So I'm not putting this loss on Minshew. I actually think Minshew did a very good job of hitting those intermediate passes between 20 and 30 yards and giving those receivers opportunities to catch and run. Yep. And so that's my take. Chris, I'll throw it to you. What are your thoughts on the Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew talk?
Yeah, I mean, to me, I don't even – the ones that are talking about AOC – they have no credibility to me anyway, respectfully. So, I'm not even going to entertain that. But as far as what I saw with Gardner, when you really watch it, he did not have any time. There was a lot of times that, I think he did the best he could to be as mobile as possible, honestly. When he had to run, people were acting like he was leaving the pocket too early or too soon. I mean, I don't think people realize how bad that's probably the worst offensive line play I've seen in I don't know when. Like I've never seen the whole offensive line play that bad. Usually, it's a guy here or there. You get the Leatherwoods and stuff like that. But I mean, that was just some bad blocking all around where usually as a quarterback, if you're getting pressure, your safe spots. So where you can step into, or there was nowhere to step into, man. So it's just it was bad, man. But just like I was saying on my show on Leo's show, there was one play in particular I know the AOC stands are going to talk about where he kind of like overthrew Devontae where it was just kind of high out of bounds. But if you watch that play, the pre-read was you saw it was man-to-man over there. So you're just watching what that safety is going to do. That safety rolled over to the middle third, and Tay was going for a streak. and he just made the right play. He threw it, but he threw it where it was only Tay or no one else could get it. Now he threw it a little high, but it's the same, like stuff like that. I can already hear people say, "Oh, that's why we need AOC. He can't throw." I mean, that's a perfect read. It's just, he lived another down and he kept it going. But I don't know. I don't know what some of these people see, man. I don't get it.
Severe, I'll pass on to you, but Cologne, Gardner Minshew can't anticipate the throw quick ball game like AOC. I will have to argue because
that's
Gardner Minshew threw the quick game over with the Colts, and he was very good at it. I mean, he can throw the quick game. The difference is one, I think the Chargers defense was actually very good. But two, the thing is when your running game isn't working, linebackers don't commit to the run
they
as
sit on
much.
those.
Exactly. I mean, linebackers, you got outside linebackers that are going to cover those slot receivers, and they're going to sit just that split second longer to kind of sit in that zone because they understand the rest, the running game is getting shut down by your front four. And so now I got to go back and watch the film. I don't know how much RPOs we actually ran, to be dead honest with you. I didn't see very many. And again, I got to go back and
They
watch
wouldn't
the
respect
film.
it anyway. They wouldn't respect it.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't know how much RPOs we actually ran. And so, my thing is I think Gardner Minshew can run the quick game and the RPO game very well. I don't think I don't have much concern about that. And Luke Getzey likes to run it. He ran it with Justin Fields a lot last year. So I think we'll see more of it. But you got to give him some time. Yes, that backwards pass was tough, but I think that corner was going to jump it, and that's what kind of screwed him up with that grip. So
I can't wait to watch that. I can't wait to watch that.
Yeah. So Severe, go for it. What's your take on the Gardner Minshew versus Aiden O'Connell talk?
Yeah, man. Anybody saying Aiden O'Connell would have done any better, you are outside of your mind. Like literally outside of your mind. Literally, Aiden O'Connell was some of his biggest issues was holding on to the ball too long.
Right.
That's one of his biggest issues was holding on to the ball too long, having poor pocket presence. So there are several times where, I want to say on the play to like the play to Jacoby, where Trey Tucker did what he was supposed to do, right? He sees the quarterback going to the sideline, you drop to level with the quarterback, and Gardner, floated the ball to Jacoby because Jacoby had the whole inside of the field to get to, but he had to escape the rush to do that. Aiden O'Connell doesn't make that play, right?
At all.
Like,
at all.
Did Aiden O'Connell play great game? No. Did he play a good game? Not really, but he played well enough to win. Outside of those turnovers, the game he played well enough to win. And like I said, he talked about the play where he kind of had to hold on to the ball. He said it was a miscommunication. That's why I said I think it was something. I think it was something there with Devontae. I was like, it looked like Devontae was blocking. I don't know what the hell he was doing over there. But so I think you could put that on him. But everything else, I think he executed. He played within his limits. He played within the confines of that offense, and with and there was some people was like, oh, he missed. Oh, he didn't see this, or he didn't throw the ball here. Like, but half the time there was like literally defensive tackle in his lap. Like, what do you want the guy to, like, what do you want him to do? I think people talk about the play. I want to say it was the play before the missed field goal. I think Trey Tucker ran a speed out, and he looked at Trey Tucker, but Trey Tucker didn't look like he was ready for the ball. So he could have maybe thrown it, and maybe if him and Trey Tucker have more chemistry, he throws it out there and he anticipates Trey Tucker looking up for the ball. But Trey Tucker wasn't looking for the ball, so he didn't throw the ball out there. He threw the ball away. Didn't make the mistake, and that's the thing that's been coached into him. We keep hearing that he's a gunslinger. He's a guy out there. He's going to give his guys opportunities to make plays, and then all we hear from the coaching staff is that Gardner needs to dial that back. He needs to take care of the ball, live to see another down, not be so reckless, and that's what everybody else was saying about him as well too. And now when he starts doing it, people are like, "Oh well, he should have threw this. He should have threw that."
Right? Yeah. Like he's about to thread the needle all of a sudden. Like,
exactly. Like he's not taking the chances. He's taking care of the ball, and he's trying to give not put our defense in bad positions. Now we had that one fumble. That's part of the game, guys. Justin Herbert had a fumble as well. It's just that his team was able to get on top of it, and I think he ended up getting called back regardless. So
Yeah.
I think he played well enough for us to win. I think Aiden O'Connell would put in that same situation. I think he has a much worse game. So I think that going forward, as he starts to build chemistry with this offense, I think, and this defense, I mean, this offensive line starts to gel. I think we'll see a much better Gardner Minshew.
Mhm.
Yeah, and to the chat, hey, I think we got a pretty damn good chat. I'm not seeing anybody yelling at us
Oh
because
yeah,
of our
yeah,
talk
they're
right now. I
legit.
think we got a pretty damn good chat going on. You know, at the end of the day, I'm more, and this kind of flips the script a little bit. Is I'm more pissed off at the way that our GM Tom Telesco has set us up in this situation. You look like we have a horrible offensive line. Colton Miller sustained an injury last season
Yeah,
that he had a surgery on, that they knew
he
that
may
he
not be
wasn't
ready.
going to play this entire training camp and this entire offseason.
Good point.
And then you got JPJ that has injury history, and then all of a sudden it's not a freak injury, right? It's not a broken arm or something like that you sustained during training camp. It's a non-contact concussion issue, which he had concussion concerns, and that's probably why he dropped in the draft.
Yeah.
And then we find ourselves with a horrible offensive line.
Yeah.
When, I think Severe, we weren't kind of doing stuff before the draft and everything, but one of the guys I loved was Talisi Fuaga, and he was actually one of the best tackles on Sunday.
Yeah.
For the Saints. I know he's going against Carolina, but at the same time, we just didn't. I understand we got Brock Bowers,
He's a
and
left
it
tackle too,
remains
right?
to be.
Did
What?
they have him at left tackle?
I think
Yeah,
they
they
moved
got
him to left.
Yeah, they got him a left.
Right?
I think they moved him over to left, but that just tells me that he was good enough to
Yeah.
move over to left.
Yeah.
But that's where, to me, it is really disappointing. Is now we find ourselves in a situation to where we didn't invest or draft up to get a Severe's boy Michael Penix, right? We didn't get a quarterback.
Yeah.
Imagine.
We didn't. Whether you like Josh Jacobs or not, we didn't invest in a high-paid running back.
I don't.
Because running
Okay.
backs grow on trees, remember?
But either way, right? Like, where has the money gone? And we're still sitting on almost $34 million in cap space. I
Yeah.
think it's a little bit less than that. But now we find ourselves with a questionable whether or not he's a top 25 quarterback, right? Gardner Minshew, right?
Yeah.
We have the quarterback controversy. Now we're running back by committee. AP comes out and says we're going to go with the hot hand. Zeus didn't look great. I was hoping he'd come out and he'd rip off 100+ yards, and we're going, okay, we made the right
Yeah.
decision.
Same here.
But now we find ourselves with what is a damn good defense. Our defense showed up and showed out for 90% of the game. Again, they let them rip off, some long runs, and it's unfortunate. But we're now put in a situation to where we have, a guy like Cody Whitehair starting. And I am telling you, I'm not sure why we have Cody Whitehair starting, or that was our reliable backup to JPJ. It's tough. We could look at the game in itself, but when we have issues like we do to start the season, it's just extremely concerning. And I hate the fact that we have put ourselves in a situation where we did nothing in the offseason to address any of this at the end of the day. So, I'll throw it to you guys. What's your guys' thoughts? Do you think that as we stand right now, we're going into the Ravens? Luckily, Cleveland did not look very good at all. So
Yeah.
that's kind of that's helping out. But we'll kind of end this show and chat. Let us know what you think. What are your thoughts? What do you think are how do you think the season is going to play out? I know it's early, but with the issues that we have in the offensive line, how do you think this season is going to play out? And what's your thoughts? Severe, I'll throw it to you first.
Yeah, man. I had us winning 10 games. I might have to back off of that. Maybe 9. I think we're gonna hover around 500. It really all depends on this offensive line. If his offensive line can get our things together or get things together, I think we're a 10-11 win team. If they can't, we're looking at 6-7 wins. You know, the Gardner's good enough to where, you know, and we have good enough skill players where even with bad offensive line play, you know, if we're not playing against as good of a defense or as good of a front four, especially like Puna Ford was demolishing. He was a destroyer of worlds. So if we're not going against that kind of front, I think we can put up some offensive production. We went out and scored in the first quarter, right? And we had a whole bunch of self-inflicted wounds. If you look at it, really we had 5 turnovers, turnover on downs, 2 fumbles, and a missed field goal, and then that late interception, right? So if we take care of the ball, I think we can be a pretty productive offense. It's not going to be a top tier offense, but I think we could be ranking the late teens in terms of yardage and scoring. If we do that with this defense, I think we have some success. So um, I think the jury's still out. It's only been 1 week. I think we were kind of surprised. I think I think we discounted how good that team was, especially on the defensive side of the ball. We locked them up offensively for the most part, but defensively they were much better than I anticipated. I think than many people anticipated, and that's why we're so shocked by this loss. But I'm not hitting the panic button yet. I think we have a chance to be 2-2 after 4 games. And then, you know, we got the Broncos after that, and they look pretty bad as well. So that could be another win right there. We can, after 5 games, we can conceivably be 3-2.
Yeah, the one thing I'll say is I always, because we have a brand new quarterback, brand new offensive coordinator, I'm going to give at least 4 or 5 games for them to really dial this thing in.
Yeah.
You know, it's unfortunate that we go against some pretty good defenses. The Chargers had a good defense. Cleveland has a good defense. Carolina's got they've dropped off. The Saints took it to them. Broncos have a good defense, you know, and so we're going to go against some really good defenses, which is unfortunate. But
Yeah.
Lionel Crawford said, "Did DJ Glaze play?" I don't think he played.
I don't remember seeing him either.
I don't think he came in.
Yeah.
But yeah, Severe, to your point, it's going to take. I truly believe it takes 4 or 5 games to for the offense just to kind of gel a little bit when you're going against finally a true, you know, starting defense. And so, Chris, I'll throw it over to you. Kind of what's your thoughts, man? What's your thoughts on just kind of how we are today, and you know, what are your hopes as the season progresses?
Yeah, so I you know, just kind of the same way. I'm not hitting the panic button yet. Now if we lose to like the Panthers or something, then you know my we'll have some different conversations. But um I think our offense can still be okay, but like you said, it's what this offensive line is going to do. Is Colton Miller going to be able to bounce back? Is he just rusty for not, you know, having a true off season? Does he still have to get into playing shape? I don't know. Is JPJ, when he's ready, is he going to be able to step in and really be a dog that we want him to be, or is it going to take him, you know, a few games to really get used to this NFL strength? I don't know. You know, but I think Getsy has to do a better job of understanding where our challenges are with that offensive line. If we're playing a defensive line that's overly aggressive, I want to see more screens. I mean, use the defense's aggressiveness against them. He wanted to go to the zone scheme. He wanted linemen that are more athletic, do different things to get them moving, you know, so they don't have to depend on strength. But I mean, honestly, even when he tried that the other day, they weren't even, you know, getting to their guy in time. So I don't know. I don't know. But long story short, I say that we can still, you know, I'm thinking about 9 wins. I think we'll beat the Chargers next time. I just don't believe in them. I still think we'll have more wins than they do. But I am looking at we'll probably lose the Ravens game. But then we can bounce back and go on a 3-game winning streak after that and be 3-2 out of the first 5 games. So
yeah, the only thing that kind of I'll end with just the projection of the outcome of the season. The hard part is I wish when we had the draft, and Severe, I think you and I, we kind of talked about it a little bit, right? Is I wish we would have established an identity on this offense. Our defense was going to ball. And I wanted us to establish an identity. And the thing is if we would have, let's say, and I think there was a comment earlier in the comment section. I picked it up, but free agent linemen, yeah, they were very expensive. I think the guards were starting out like the top guard got paid like $22 million or something a year.
Crazy.
But here's my thing. Like we still have 34 million, 30 plus million in the bank. If we would have brought in a top tier guard and then drafted a tackle, then we could have hung our hat on the run game. Potentially, we could have said, we're going to beat you up in the trenches and we're going to come after you. Or you go the route we did and you draft up and get a quarterback, and now you're establishing for the future. Like you tried to figure out an identity. Yeah. And right now, the unfortunate part, and this is the part that I'm just kind of concerned about, is that our offense has no identity. Zeus didn't look very good. Alexander Mattson kind of shined a little bit, but not enough to where you're going to ride his coattails. AAP said that now we're going to give it to the hot hand. Gardner Minshew is not the gunslinger that's going to throw it 50 times a game and win you a football game. He's more that ball controlled type of quarterback that he might make some plays with his feet, may take some shots and stuff like that. But we're relying on our defense. Yeah. And at the end of the day, at least what we've shown week one, and again, this is week one, so by no means do you panic. There's going to be some growing pains. We're going to work this thing out a little bit, but unfortunately, as it stands right now, there's no identity on the offense. There's nothing. Yeah. There's nothing that we can hang our hat on and go to a game and say, we're going to beat you this way. And that's unfortunate.
No, I agree. See, now, I think I was always kind of the only one who was saying, I don't think we should be a run-first team. Like, I was saying that. Like, I just don't believe in Zeus like a lot of other people do. Like, I don't think – I think our best, and I said this earlier, I think our best personnel set was with Madison at running back. We had Brock Bowers as the true tight end, either on the line or split out. Tucker in the slot, and then Tay and Jacoby. Like, I'm okay with Michael with Mayer coming off the bench. I'm okay with Zeus, spilling Madison when he has to, but the thought of like us running the ball 30, 35 times, 40 times and just punching people in the mouth. We don't have that yet. We don't have the guys up front. We don't have the big nasties. We don't have the incognitos and Donald Penn. Shout out to Donald Penn. He was at our tailgate. Like big dudes like that.
Did you guys meet Donald Penn?
Yeah. The crazy, another thing I saw, I ran into David Robinson, the Admiral. It was so random. Yeah,
that's cool. Actually, I know Donald Penn pretty well. I know Donald Penn pretty well. He actually played tackle at Utah with my buddy that I played high school ball with. Okay, he was our guard in high school, and he went to play Utah, and they played side by side. So he actually hooked up with a bunch of Raider tickets when he played for the Raiders. So Donald Penn's a really cool guy. I mean, down there.
He was mad cool.
Yeah, man. I saw Link after the game. He looked pissed off.
Oh, you saw Lincoln Kennedy?
Yeah, Lincoln Kennedy after the game. Yeah, he looked.
Oh yeah, I know he was probably pissed.
Hella mad.
He's a big dude too.
He's a big dude too.
Yeah.
Big,
yeah.
That's what I'm saying. We need old school guys like that that was really bullies, man. We just don't got that.
So Chris, I'm with you. And the only thing is, like, I'm not necessarily a run first type of guy. And look, I hope Brock Bowers just turns it on for us, right? Like, I do hope it all just kind of works out.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, we're sitting week one and we don't have an identity. I hope we develop it. I wish we would have drafted or made moves in the offseason that kind of developed or had a direction of some sort of identity. But now we find ourselves with really nothing to kind of hang our hat on.
Yeah.
And that's where I struggle. Again, to everybody in the chat, like, I hope it changes. I hope all of a sudden Zamir White just bang pops off, and now all of a sudden we're running the rock and we're looking good. And this O-line is improved, but at the end of the day, it starts up front. It starts with your O-line. And based on what I saw on Sunday, our O-line is probably the weakest position group on our team.
By far.
And we had opportunities to improve it in the offseason.
No, definitely.
So that's kind of where I stand, guys. That that's kind of our recap, man. We touched on a lot of things. We touched on the free agents that came in. We touched on kind of winners and losers. Chat, I appreciate you guys rolling with us, man. We have over 100 in the building. You guys have been rolling strong. I apologize if I didn't get to everybody's comment. I've been trying to do it. Again, for the future, if you guys roll through, put hashtag Raiders so I know if there's a question or something you want me to put up. But make sure, if you're depending on what channel you're in, make sure you hit that like button wherever you're watching. Go to Chris, Protect the Show podcast. Go hit him up. The Severe Raider. Go check him out. Make sure you guys go and subscribe to his channel. And if you guys are on theirs, my channel is Real Talk Raider Nation. Go hit me up. The only thing, Tony Scheffler, who'd you want? I was saying it for a long time in a bunch of videos. I want Talisi Fuaga. That was my guy. So, but there was a bunch of great tackles in the draft, and I think there's going to be some really good tackles. I mean, there was some really good rookie tackle play this entire weekend. So, but we went with Brock Bowers, man. I hope that it all works out, and I hope in the next 2-3 games we can identify an identity and really establish something strong on this offensive side, because I think our defense is going to continue to ball. I really don't got any worries. So any final thoughts from you guys? Any last thoughts before we bounce?
Yeah, for me, man, just we have to just be patient, man. And I know Raider fans are tired of hearing that. So, I'm not gonna, beat it down, your chest too much. But anyone that has played a sport at any kind of competitive level or anything, you guys know that things aren't always going to go as planned. Like, you got to be able to overcome adversity. So, like, some of you guys that, like, just because we got punched in the mouth week 1 and think it's over, it tells me more about you guys, like how you think. Like, if you ever been in a fight before and someone punches you and then you want to just quit, then like, no, we just getting started, baby. We about to move some furniture in here, Severe.
You just woke me up.
You just woke me up, man. And I just think that's what it's about, man. So, let's use it and make sure you guys go watch Max's podcast, The Rush. I like some of the things that he said on that. Was, as players and fans, we can't be extreme either way. If we lose a game, we can't think it's over. If we win a game, we can't think we're going to Super Bowl. Just,
if we beat the Ravens, we going to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, exactly.
It's coach of the year.
It's wild.
Winning cures all. Let's put it that way. If we win against the Ravens, then this whole Raider fan base is going to blow up, and everybody's going to be on it. Severe, any last words?
Everybody's going to be rocking mustaches, and
right, yeah, 100%.
100%. Severe, any last words?
It's no time to panic. It's one game. It was a game that I thought we would win, but it's it's the NFL. It's any given Sunday, and we beat ourselves. It's not like we came out there and we were dominated and we couldn't do anything. We essentially beat ourselves. So I think that going into this game, next week, it's going to be a very tough game. So temper your expectations there as well. But I think after that, that's when we'll really kind of see what kind of team we have going forward from there. I still have faith in Antonio Pierce. I know a lot of people lost faith in him. I still have faith in Gardner Minshew. A lot of people have lost faith in him. I still have faith in Zamir White. But
that's where you lost me, bro.
I still have faith in Zamir White as well. So
as much as Eichenberg.
I don't even know if Eichenberg is going to show up. I don't even know if Eichenberg is going to. I don't know where he's at. I don't even know what he looks like.
Chris, we went an entire show and he didn't mention the name, even when we talked about defensive losers. I don't think Eichenberg came out of his mouth. I think
I was trying to bait him a little bit. I was trying to bait him. He didn't take it.
That should have been my number one loser because all this stop the run stuff. Oh, hey, that's Eichenberg's. That's right up his alley.
And then you went to Trayvon Merrick, man. You crazy. You crazy.
Trayvon Merrick, he took that. Oh man, he when he got cooked by JK in the open field, I was like, bro, you automatic loser, automatic loser. But yeah, man, I think people watch. What Zamir not gonna have a good game next game. I just tell you that right now. Zamir not gonna have a good game next game. because the Ravens are their front seven is pretty good.
Oh,
Matabuke is going to wreak havoc as well. So don't expect that game. But then I think against the Panthers, I think he'll get it together. Willis is a dog too, so it's going to be tough. But I think by that time we'll start to gel a little bit, and I think we'll start get things together. So I think we'll be all right. I think we'll be all right. I've recalibrated, but I haven't lost hope. I just have to recalibrate.
I like it. I like that. You recalibrated. I like the term. I like it. No, well, you know what, guys? I appreciate you guys rolling through chat. You guys have been amazing. You guys have been solid. I mean, definitely over 100 in the chat this entire time. It's been awesome to see. Again, I apologize if I didn't get to any of the comments that you want to go up there, but I'm going to do better next time. I promise you. But last but not least, make sure you click the like button on the way out. Wherever you're at, hit the subscribe button. Go to Chris, Protect the Show podcast, the Severe Raider, as well as my YouTube channel, Real Talk Raider Nation. I appreciate you guys. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep breaking things down because I love bringing you guys on. We keep it real. That's the best thing about this. We keep it real.
Real talk.
We don't cut any corners, and we make sure that we just speak to how it is. So whether everybody agrees or not,
every Tuesday. Should we lock it in?
Yeah, I'm good with that, man.
I'm good. And the all 22 did pop up, so I could pull it up too. And I'd love to break down some films. So
I'm doing that.
Tuesday night might be the night.
Just remember this. If you guys don't remember anything else, remember this. Cincinnati Bengals lost to the Patriots. Just remember that. Just remember that.
It could always be worse.
And that's the first thing everybody was talking about when we lost to the Chargers. So, man. Again, appreciate you guys for pulling up. Let's make it to Tuesday night. I'm down for that. I hope all you guys roll through chat. You've been great. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you guys on the next one. We're all out.